Sometimes miracles do happen, and I've just seen one in, of all places, war-torn Afghanistan. As the West is withdrawing its troops and the Taliban are gearing up for a comeback, the country is bracing for an uncertain and violent future. But there is resistance against the Taliban from a most unlikely source. Young orphans of the 12-year war are fighting back with beautiful music. Risking the wrath of the music-banning mullahs, these courageous kids have formed a youth orchestra, and they're being taught by some very brave Australians. Early on an icy winter's morning in Kabul, music permeates the gloom to warm the heart. We've come to Afghanistan's one and only music school. It's freezing cold and there's no heating, but it buzzes with the red-hot energy of youth and euphonious excitement. It's hard to believe a youth orchestra can exist in a war-torn city. The pianos, drums, clarinets and trumpets are the new weapons of freedom. And in the thick of it, we found Jason Noble, a visiting music teacher all the way from Bondi. What on earth is an Aussie muso doing in a place like this?
Well, it's my second time here, actually, so...
So you could know better?
I could know better, but strangely enough, I'm enjoying it even more the second time.
Yeah, do, say, sharp.
Jason normally teaches at the Sydney Conservatorium. But has come here to join these fearless boys and girls in the ultimate act of defiance.
Very good. Go from G.
His students were born at the time the Taliban took control of Afghanistan. The mullahs banned music, terrorised musicians, smashed their instruments, even ripped the tape out of music cassettes. So these kids have started from nothing, and now they can't learn quickly enough.
They're queuing up for their 10 minutes of attention, I would say. They're keen for anything you can tell them.
Makbul.
It seems to me very much like a lovely little bubble of unreality in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, to me, it seems the happiest place in Afghanistan. I mean, the kids have an amazing experience at the school.
The happiest place in Afghanistan?
The happiest place.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
This is the place where I see the most joy, and it's where I see the human spirit at its most raw.
Poop, faster.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Voland. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah, who, very good.
The school reminds me of that 1970s movie, Fame. The super gifted next to the not so talented, but with equal measures of ambition. But none of this would have happened if it weren't for this man, Ahmed Sarmast, who thumbed his nose at the music-hating mullahs and developed the National Academy of Music. I'm walking with one of the bravest men in the world.
No, I'm not a brave man. Believe me, I'm an ordinary man with a strong commitment and belief.
This modest musician is actually an Australian. He's the son of a prominent Afghan conductor, but left his native Kabul at the age of 19 to study the trumpet in Moscow and then Melbourne. He gained a PhD in music at Monash University and raised his family in Australia before deciding a few years ago that Afghanistan needed him more. You could be a professor of music in Melbourne and live a delightful middle-class life, and you would be safe.
I had a wonderful time in Australia. I have been living with my wife and with my 2 kids. But I think that this nation needed me much more than Australia. In Australia, there's wonderful musicians, there's many professors of music, but this country has only one Dr. Sarma. So therefore, it was my commitment, it was my duty to return back to my roots and do my little part.
When he returned from Melbourne to do his part in Kabul, Dr. Sarmast wanted a very different kind of orchestra. He cobbled together an ensemble of misfits. He wanted half the students to come from the homeless street kids, from needy families, and from orphanages. The kids jumped at the chance, despite what they'd heard about the Taliban's horrendous punishments.
They would cut our hands or our ears.
From a child?
Even doesn't matter child or elder, the rule was the same.
Where I come from, people watching this will say, that is a very brave young man.
I try to be brave as much as I can.
Perhaps the most daring of all are the female students, given the Taliban's harsh interpretation of Islam. Girls enjoying music that's really rubbing their noses in it. Take Layla, who treasures every day she gets to come here and learn the xylophone.
Ready, and off it, talk to me about off it.
You've always got a beautiful smile on your face. You must love this place.
Well, smiles are the spice of life, and we should always be happy. I'm living with the students from the orphanage. I am very happy because we live together. We study together, we eat together, and we sleep together. We are always happy.
Are you worried that the Taliban might come back?
They don't have the right to come back. They can't come back. Now we are girls and boys studying together, and we want to keep it that way.
One day, Layla and her school friends invited us to join them on a school bus to come and see where they live. They took us to their orphanage. For many Afghani girls, education is a mighty privilege, and not just because of the Taliban. The sad truth is that many families still hold to the tradition that a woman's place is at home.
Last year there was a girl in my class here in Kabul. She's not here this year because her grandfather suddenly decided that music was not for girls and she wasn't allowed to play anymore. She was to be married off, which is really sad because she was a lovely player.
For me, please.
There are something like 70,000 of these kids in the streets of Kabul. Nobody knows, nobody's counted. But as a parent, I just want to take them home. I want to take them home, I want to feed them, and I want to send them to school. But progress comes slowly with the Taliban still around and still capable of dreadful carnage. Just before we arrived in Kabul, a restaurant popular with Western diplomats and aid workers was hit by a suicide bomber and 21 people died. Then, just after we left, our hotel was stormed by 3 gunmen. music school is a prime target because it's funded mainly by Western governments. Today, the orchestra is practicing for its annual performance at Kabul's main concert hall. Do you appreciate the sense of danger in what you do? The barbarians are at the gate. The Taliban could return. They're present. Restaurants are blown up. Attacks are frequent. They do not like what you're doing.
If we're going to give up on the face of the threat from this barbarian, it means that they're winning. It's your right to have access to a music program. It's your right to express yourself through music. So we have to show to the international community and to the Afghan community that the dark days are past.
It's down to a last-minute rehearsal and I should be getting ready to sit back and enjoy the music, but instead I find myself nervously eyeing the entrances and the exits, and with good reason. I'm attending the most dangerous concert in the world today. The Taliban hate music, they hate culture of any sort, and they hate Western influence, and there is no doubt that those forces of darkness would, if they could, kill everyone in this room. But if it's good enough for the kids, it's good enough for me. The show goes on. Any composer would have been proud to hear their work played on a stage in the middle of a brutal war. It's been performed better by other orchestras in other places, but never more bravely. And nowhere with greater purpose than by these hopeful young kids trying against all odds to be the best they can be. Shakespeare has the quote, "Music hath charms to soothe the savage breast."
I fully agree. Music and music education will definitely inspire and motivate these people and show that hope is not dead in this nation and we've got a bright future.
Hello, I'm Charles Woolley. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.